Hey guys, I'm here with Tom Malterre, who's one of our favorite nutritionists. He does a bunch of medical curriculum teaching doctors what's up about food. He's a co-author of a couple books on gluten and their effects on your body. Tom, welcome.
Hey, Pedram. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice seeing you, buddy.
Excellent. So I know we got a hot topic to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the effects of certain chemicals on the body and some new research that's come out. And I know you're excited about it, and I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it was kind of a mind blower. We just had a crew come out, Sam Sell and Senef, with a paper in Entropy that showed that the most commonly used herbicide on this planet, called RoundUp, is possibly creating an environment within our bodies and within the actual plant kingdom, animal kingdom, water, soil environments that could be leading to a ton of our diseases that we're looking at. We're talking about Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism, depression, obesity. There are a lot of ties to this specific chemical that were just pointed out to us. Now, we've been seeing this stuff coming up in the literature, but I was hoping to break down a few really important things that are happening with the exposure to RoundUp. And the one piece that I really want to hammer home is that I'm concerned. I'm seeing, as you know, I'm part of the Autism Research Institute, and I'm seeing children who have neurocognitive behavioral disorders. I'm seeing so many kids just in my kids' school who are hyperactive, that are aggressive, that have attention deficit problems. And, Pedram, one of the things that you and I are familiar with is the serotonin cycle, the production of the neurotransmitter serotonin that allows for people to be calm, allows for them to be happy, allows for them then, once that serotonin is converted to melatonin, to sleep well, to kind of bring it down. And you've talked about it in your videos, how rest is so important. If you never get your sleep, then you can't do that rest, digest, detox. You can't do a lot of the repair. So the worst combination possible would be to have someone walking around with an insufficiency of a neurotransmitter like serotonin that makes them happy, and then at the same time leave them insomniatic, leave them without restful sleep, because then they get even more anxious, they get even more aggressive, they can never really truly calm down. So the piece that I think we need to communicate is that we have this herbicide that's being sprayed liberally all over the globe now, but in the United States we're using about at least 185 million pounds per year.
That's amazing.
I know, right? And when you test the water samples, when you test the soil samples, when you test the air samples, when you look at urine samples in Berlin, they took urine samples from non-agricultural workers. And they found between 5 and 20 times the safe level of this active ingredient called glyphosate in the Roundup in their urine. Now, this may not seem alarming first off, but let's go back to what we're talking about. We're talking about an herbicide whose primary action, it was patented originally as a mineral chelator. It binds to minerals and does not let them go. And by doing that, it binds to a specific mineral manganese that is essential for an enzyme in plants called the EPS-PS enzyme. We don't need to know the details, just know that that's the enzyme the plants use to make tryptophan. They make the aromatic amino acid tryptophan. They also make phenylalanine, which is important for neurotransmitter function as well. But if the plants can't make tryptophan, what's going on? I mean, this was already the least common amino acid on the planet. We have 1.5 grams coming into our diet on a daily basis. It's super hard to get up to the brain because you compete with other amino acids. It's a challenge to begin with. And then all of a sudden, we're saying, well, let's spray this substance all across the globe that inhibits plants from making this amino acid. So is there then a connection in the scientific literature between serotonin insufficiency and aggressive behavior? Yes. Have we seen a jump of aggressive behavior in school children since the mid-90s through 2006? Yes, there are scientific articles on this. When you take people with aggressive behavior and depression and you put them on tryptophan, do they get better? Yes. In fact, prior to the SSRI class of medications being released. Prior to this incredible Prozac environment that we're in right now, people primarily used tryptophan for depression and anxiety. And conveniently, about 4 days prior to the SSRIs being announced on the cover of Newsweek, we had a tainted batch of tryptophan that caused a host of problems and some deaths as well from genetically modified bacterium. So we had tryptophan that was primarily used. We got a tainted batch. All of a sudden, nobody could trust tryptophan anymore, so they stopped using it. 4 days later, the class of medications called the SSRIs came out, and we've been relying on these for depressive disorders since then. So the Prozac Nation is what it's been called. So it's interesting. You know, I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned that we're creating an environment that keeps nature from doing what it's intended to do. Nature is intended to provide us with everything we need for optimal mood and sleep and whatnot. But with the presence of this Roundup now, we have a problem getting what we need from the plants.
So how do we mitigate our exposure? Because you're talking about non-agricultural people in Berlin getting tagged with such a high amount.
Yeah.
You know, what do we do?
Well, that's a great question. And the reality is we need to step back and we need to say, okay, wait, let's read the Senef paper and let's understand that that's, you know, the tryptophan piece is one of a huge story. Because it looks like, you know, this is a very potent biocidal. The biocidal means it kills beneficial bacterium. And in fact, Roundup seems to wipe out, it acts like an antibiotic in animal systems and human systems, and that it can knock out the beneficial species. We saw a chicken study come out of Germany that was brilliant. It basically showed a lot of the pathogens, Clostridial species, for example, were allowed to flourish after exposed to Roundup, where all the beneficials were knocked out. Now, the only other place that we have in nature, if the plants can't make the tryptophan, is bacterium. They have the same enzyme. So if we knock out our 2 chances, there you go. But, you know, this is much bigger than that. If you knock out bacterium, we're now seeing beneficial bacterium being associated with obesity. We're seeing it being associated with neurocognitive disorders. We're seeing it associated with diabetes, cardiovascular disease. You name the disease and disorder. All these food sensitivities, these immune imbalances, eczema, asthma, autism. If you don't have beneficial species, it throws your entire system off. So we've got this massive, massive cascade. But let's back up and answer your question. And your question was, how do we then get rid of our exposure? So we have a definite inspiration. We want to be happy. We want to be sane. We want to sleep well. And if we're going to be consuming foods coming from corn, soy, cottonseed, sugar beets, and canola, those are your primary Roundup-ready genetically modified crops. So what happened back in 1996, okay, this was already used as an herbicide, but Monsanto genetically modified soy to tolerate Roundup. This is such an effective herbicide. I mean, you spray it on anything, and it will knock out that enzyme function by chelating those minerals, and that plant will be dead in no time at all. It's cheap. It's fairly easy to applicate. The only problem is if you get it on what you don't want it on, it kills that too. So they decided, let's insert a gene from a resistant bacterium into this plant, and then we can just liberally spray this stuff all over the fields. And by spraying it all over the fields, you know, we save a ton of time, we save a ton of money, except for, of course, they've increased the use of this herbicide by over 404 million pounds. So this is something that, you know, it makes sense to the industry, but doesn't necessarily make sense to us. So any of the Roundup ready crops themselves are going to be sprayed liberally, and they will accumulate some of this Roundup. Now, I wish I could just say it was those. You could avoid soy, you could avoid corn, cottonseed, like cottonseed meal that's used in oils and whatnot, canola, and sugar beets. So if you could just avoid those 5, that'd be great. But here's the problem, Pedram. What they're doing is they're doing something called burn down. So when crops will come up, like let's say wheat or sorghum or barley or rye, and at the end of the season, if you don't get enough of the maturing of the plant at the right time due to moisture levels or lack of sun or whatever the case may be, they'll spray this Roundup on the crop to burn off the extra foliage, which will drive the nutrients to the grain. At the same time, it will drive the Roundup to the grain. And back in 2012, there was actually a refusal of barley by brewing companies because they sprayed so much Roundup to burn this stuff down that when they went to go brew their beer, now once again, this is a antibiocidal, an antimicrobial, it killed the organisms for the fermentative process.
Wow.
So they could not brew the beer. So you have to think to yourself, okay, how do we avoid that then? You're talking about, it could be on rice, it could be on potatoes. They use it for everything. So you need to look for organic. That's the bottom line. If you want to avoid this Roundup, you want to stop the supporting of knocking out nature's ability to give us these beneficial nutrients, then absolutely. Your option is organic, organic, organic. So you really have to be conscious of that.
What about all of these additives? I mean, eating out is tough because good luck not getting them to cook with canola oil. Good luck with what they're putting in there, right? And so going in and getting organic food, at least you're stopping the exposure there. What about the damage that's been done? Say okay, Tom, I've drank the Kool-Aid. You're right, absolutely, 100%. I'm going to the farmer's market. I'm going to go organic from here on in. What happens on the other end where now I have had a certain amount of exposure? How long does this stuff stay in the system? How do I got to re-inoculate my beneficial flora? And what do we need to do to turn that corner once we've decided to go clean?
Yeah, smart. So action, call to action. What can we do now? So if you're exposed to this Roundup, there are a couple of different factors that may be a concern for you. Number one, mineral insufficiencies. If you're consuming plants, you're consuming animals that have been consuming plants that are Roundup ready, then the minerals that are most commonly insufficient are things like iron, iodine, manganese, magnesium, zinc. So a full spectrum mineral supplement might be beneficial. That's why a lot of people are taking multivitamins these days, and they do seem to get benefit from it. One of the key pieces that people are not conscious of is that the cyanocobalamin, also known as B12, has cobalt in it, and that cobalt is tightly bound by this Roundup, so you may have a B12 insufficiency. They'll find this in the organ meat of animals that fed Roundup. It's incredibly B12 insufficient. So I would say, yes, you want to be concerned about those minerals and that one now B vitamin because of that binding. And then you're looking at those amino acids, those aromatic amino acids. If you have problems with mood, you have problems with sleep, then I would consider supplementing something like 5-hydroxytryptophan, which is a type of tryptophan that has been converted to a shape that's more bioactive in your body for that serotonin formation. It travels to the brain more readily than just solely tryptophan. There are other B vitamins needed to make that happen normally. So I would say 5-HTP might work if you're not sleeping well. Melatonin may work beautifully. Absolutely. The piece is you want to make sure that anytime you have an organophosphorus type pesticide, you have your detoxification mechanisms working well. And one of the best ways to do that is to, of course, make sure your bowels are moving. We process a lot of things through our liver. We excrete a lot of toxins through our bile. And that bile will come down in the intestinal tract, bind a soluble fiber, and get out of the body. So if you're consuming soluble fiber, your bowels are moving well, then you'll have a lot of, I would say, facilitating of getting rid of this stuff. Now, you can go back upstream and you can stimulate the liver, and you could say, liver, you want some love? You want some assistance in detox? I'm going to give you broccoli. I'm going to give you cauliflower. I'm going to give you cabbage, kale, arugula, Brussels sprouts. All those sulfury mustard family, cabbage family type of vegetables are amazing at ramping up phase 2 detoxification enzymes that pull stuff out of the system. So bowels first. You don't want to pull stuff out and then not be able to deposit it somewhere. So And the other factors of getting rid of toxins normally are through sweat and they're through urine. So, drinking lots of fluid, getting some exercise is always beneficial as well.
Fantastic. Tom, you've got so much. I mean, I got 6 questions that would take us completely off topic already, just talking about 5-HTP and SSRIs and all sorts of things. What I'd like to do is take some questions from the audience over this and then take those questions and come back on our weekly check-ins with you and just keep following these and going with our new topics and going there. So we'll take maybe a couple questions from the audience at the start of every show and then get into the topic of the show. And then that way we can keep the people who, we get a lot of questions on these, and that way we can keep the people who are interested in knowing this stuff involved in this dialogue and keep them engaged as well. Will you provide us with some of the links to the articles or the research that you're referencing here, so that we can just have it? Because we have some people who are absolutely zero science and some people that are super science, and we want to make sure that this information is available and useful to everybody.
Absolutely. Pedram, my first job is to serve. I mean, that's why I'm here. If I can help people by educating them, I will absolutely do that. And, on our website, too, wholelifenutrition.net, we're going to provide a lot of resources. You'll see my little summary videos. And then if you look over to the right bar, I usually have little PDF links, or I have little links online as well. So I'm happy to share any of that stuff with you. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll put links to all that in with this article here. So, Tom Malterre, thank you very much. It was enlightening as always, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Pleasure, my friend. It's always great seeing you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.